We're so drunk.
I'm naked.
What did we do?
No, we didn't do anything.
There's not enough alcohol in the world.
Ooh, white flag, white flag.
No war,
no guns,
no porn.
Just life,
just love,
no hype,
just fun,
no ties,
just me and my mind,
just me and my wife.
But tell me if I'm dreaming, cause I don't wanna wake up till the evening.
And I don't wanna be left sleeping from all the diseases that I breathe in.
Look, respect the island, no stealing.
And don't bring religion here, no free kings.
Integrated and we ain't leaving, we come on a peace thing.
White flag,
white flag.
Hey everybody and welcome back to What the Hell Happened to Them. Julia Roberts carries us onward. I am your host, Pastor Skeyhill. Joining me on the line is not Joe. He's got some sick family members at home he's got to take care of, but we have a pretty good substitution, I would say. Producer Rajeev Colton.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much, Patrick, for having me on.
We're excited to have you. We've been wanting to find a good excuse to bring you on for a bit and talk about your produce-serial skills. But on the audio boards, helping us sound so slippery smooth, is Lev Van Rensselaer, reminding me to remind you that you can email the cast at whathappenedtothemcast@gmail.com. And our sponsor this week is Tiki Leaks. For all the government secrets that Polynesia has to offer, go check out Tiki Leaks on a computer near you. All right, Rajeev, what movie did we do this week?
We did Ticket to Paradise, Patrick.
That's true. The Julia Roberts, George Clooney vehicle. Can you just give us a brief summary before we jump in on what happens in this movie, Rajeev?
Brief summary. So Julia Roberts and George Clooney play a divorced couple. The only thing kind of connecting their world together is they have a daughter. I already forgot what the daughter's name is. So she's graduated, she's a lawyer. They're both very major entrepreneurs and go-getters, and they want the same for their daughter. And so after she graduates, her graduation gift is to go to Bali. And in Bali, the daughter spontaneously falls in love and emails her parents saying, "Hey, I'm getting married in 30 days. Come for my wedding." And so George Clooney's character and Julia Roberts' character, shocker, team up to try and break up their daughter's wedding. And in through that and the magic of Bali, I would say also find some magic in their lives.
So Rajeev, as a producer, I'm sure you know stranger to script coverage and stuff like that. So if you got a script and the log line was, I don't know, two bitterly divorced parents must team up to keep their daughter from getting married too early and making the same mistake they did, would you read that and go like, okay, there could be something here?
To be honest, I probably would. I personally believe there's an audience for everything. And I think having gone for this movie and seeing the audience that was there, which was primarily the young, I mean, there were the anomalies who were the 23 and the 24-year-olds. But I think the standard youngsters were in their early 30s and then all the way up to their 50s and 60s. So I think especially when you put people like Julia Roberts and George Clooney in the front seat, I think that you kind of have a bit of a nostalgic hit on your hands.
Yeah, I think this has the advantage of having a storyline for the older crowd and something for the teens. So there's that. And I didn't even fit in the Bali tropical paradise yet into the log line. Do you think that helps it, or do you think that doesn't matter so much?
In terms of that, there's so many beautiful countries that this could... I think the biggest aspect was they're from the US. So obviously, I can't remember which part, but you kind of see the industrial kind of heavy city life aspect of the US, and then you contrast it with this beautiful exotic country. So I think it could kind of be anywhere. I think the description would just have to be crazy, beautiful, exotic, to contrast this everyday work, have to get up and make that money lifestyle.
So what were your first impressions of the film?
Personally, or
you personally, Rajeev Colton, what did you enjoy and dislike about the film?
I really enjoy the nostalgia aspect of seeing another rom-com with Julia Roberts and George Clooney. Yeah. I want to say I think this is about their fifth film together.
It's in that range. Mm-hmm.
Especially now, you come with all the superhero films and all the remakes and all the live-action adaptations of all the Disney films and plus. I think it's just really nice to kind of have something familiar. And I think that's what Ticket to Paradise is riding on. You never thought you'd see them again in a rom-com, but here you go. And I think for me, it was just nice to kind of not really think and just kind of enjoy something in that sense.
Well, you didn't have to think during Black Adam either, which I guess is what its advantage was. I don't know.
That's funny.
What was the last romantic comedy you saw in the theater?
I am trying to... This Bullet Train count as wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure the audience at home would give that to you.
I can't remember. I mean, what are the rom-coms that have come out this year?
Yeah, I can't remember either, quite frankly.
They're dubbing Bros as a rom-com, but I haven't seen it yet.
I guess that would be, yeah. Joe really liked Bros. I didn't get to see it.
I haven't seen it yet either. But yeah, I can't remember the last rom-com. What about you? What's the last rom-com?
I know, right? You know what? The last one I saw, I don't know if this would count. Lev's shaking his head saying it wouldn't, but I think it does. There's an art house theater near me, and so they show like old movies. And so I saw this one from 1993, The Three Colors White. Hysterical, dark rom-com about, this couple that's just both kind of like, this woman's clearly psychopathic or whatever, and the husband like has to out-psychopath her to win her back. And it is a delight.
Would you call it
It was a very funny movie. Dark humor.
Okay.
Dark humor. Not what people... Certainly not a Julia Roberts, George Clooney movie.
No.
But it had Julia Delpy and... I forget who the guy was.
Oh, nice.
Old film. So I guess it would count that one. And before then... Jeez, I don't know. But it's not a genre I usually go for anyway. I'm not the market. I was told when I was coming up in school, my undergrad, by my producing professor, that two movies always make money, horror films and romantic comedies. And so when I did my first features, those were the two genres I went after first. Because people are just so easy. The thing about romantic comedies, though, seems to be they kind of require star power, I think. Like, I think Bros had problems. Most people don't know who Billy Eichner is. And I don't even think I know who the other guy is, so...
I think also Billy Eichner has made kind of brand is like being obnoxious and like in your face. And I think he's turned off a lot of people. So I think that kind of didn't help.
That could be
and then
true,
he
too.
went on in the news to like blame the straights for not wanting to watch a gay film.
Here's the biggest problem I had with the film. That was perfectly fine. It was perfectly fine romantic comedy. Biggest problem I had, I didn't want any of these relationships to succeed. I was on board with not a one of them.
I get you 100%. Though. And here's why.
Yeah, tell me why.
And I think this is like the trope they were kind of going for. It's like the moment you see Julia Roberts and George, you know the divorce. Like they have that sort of like that exposition conversation with their friends that are match cut together, like sure. But then the moment you see them together, it's like, are you divorced or are you not? Because I wouldn't even I would imagine no one talking to each other, and here they are like trying to like third grade one up each other with their like, we love you more. No, I love you. I'm more. I'm just like, okay, sit down, calm down. And then the daughter, what's the daughter's name? Caitlin Deaver is the actress.
We can just call her that. I don't know what her name is. I don't know who Caitlin Deaver is either, so it's all okay.
She was in Short Term 12 when she did.
Oh, she was like grumpy teen lady?
Psycho, emo girl. Giddy or Gide, I guess that was a strange name, so it's easy to remember. I'm like, they met once when he saved her from having to swim. 37 days later, they were like getting married. And then when the parents rock up home, he decides to parent them by like giving them advice. And I was just like, okay, sir, I don't know who you are. You need to sit down as well. You know who I like the best? Ren.
Yeah, Delight Ren.
Yeah, and then she was the one who like listened to Clooney in the bar and kind of gave him. I was just like, give me more of this girl. Billy Lord all the way.
I actually do feel bad for her because she's clearly got like this early alcoholic tendencies that the movie's like, aha, these are jokes. And I go, I don't know, movie.
Just like alcoholism is funny.
Yeah, so I feel kind of bad for her. I'm like, everybody's just like laughing at her and then going to do their own thing, and she's over there like finishing off the bottle of tequila.
Oh god.
But anyway, yeah. So we are closer in age to the main girl versus Roberts and Clooney. But I think people in that age bracket are like, sweet, I get out of the shitty day-to-day stuff. I get to live on a wonderful beach, meet this mysterious jungle man, and we fall in love at first sight. And I'm just like, I buy none of this. And I guess the theme is like chill out, But I'm like, you did just meet him. You're an insane person. You don't know what it's like to live here day to day.
Jeez.
And the other family was like, cool. You should be a little more responsible too here. Go back to your fancy law job. What are you doing? And especially just on an economic level, your parents put you through law school and regular school. Now you're just like, nah, I'm going to farm seaweed. I feel kind of bad for them.
I can come back on a holiday. If I leave, this is not Narnia where you never see it again.
Yeah.
Like, you can go back. Have they never taught her what it seemed like she was close to her parents. So it wasn't like, I was neglected and they just threw money at me and blah, blah. Like, she seemed to have relationship enough to her. It was just like, did she not text them through the...
Yeah, she, I guess, was afraid to... Who goes on vacation for a month? Like, how are you able to swing that? White people problems, Rajeev, I tell you.
The slug ran 37 days. I was like, what in the heck were they doing?
You're still there? Good Lord. Yeah, how much vacation do you need? So it says they graduated from law school, but she looked a little too young for that. But it also said she was at law school for 4 years. Bullshit, I say. Law school is 3 years. So you gotta make up your mind, movie. Is she an undergrad or is she a law school grad? She's also gonna take the LSATs, or whatever it's called, right?
Yeah.
She got past the bar before she has her fancy job. She should be studying. Come on.
That's what I was thinking. I was just like, where's the bar exam? For her to be a lawyer.
A good research movie screenwriter. We are completely missing the whole point of the movie.
It's Julie and George.
Well, it's not even, it's just like the theme is like, don't get caught up in the day-to-day and let the little stuff go. And I go, no, the little stuff, it bothers me. I'm bothered. I think part of the issue, too, is that's an area I would have no fun. Beach, water, trees, no thank you. I'm sure most people are like, woo, I'm like, give me post-Soviet bloc, old factory. I'll do that all the time. That's awesome. That's where I would vacation.
Trying to picture this vacation.
I'll go to
Gotham City,
Serbia, Croatia. I'll hang out there, and I'll be like, wow, look at all this old buildings. Sweet. I'll do Prague even. I'm like, oh, look, old shitty roads and like 300-year-old buildings. Like, my jam.
Good classical movies. Foreign, international, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
There you go. But the thing about the film, though, it wasn't the location that she fell in love with. She was like, yeah, it's nice and blah, blah, blah. It was little seaweed homie.
Yeah.
That changed everything. And I was just like, there was no setup in the beginning of her pre-graduation. She's in the room and the friend like taking all the condoms out of the box.
Yes.
Oh, so funny. There was no setup of like, I'm alone and like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, oh, like I'm graduating. It's about like the entire conversation was about her parents having to sit next to each other. Then in Bali, like there's again no talk about love or relationship, and then G'day shows up out of nowhere. And 37 days later, she's like given up her entire life.
The meet cute wasn't even like that impressive. It was just like, all right, it doesn't rate highly on the meet cute scale. Whatever that would mean to me, I don't know, but
you know how they blur the intro, like the music changes, and like he's on the boat, and like you know, like you can clearly see his shirt's wide open, but you don't know who he is. I was like, oh, here comes the dude, and he pulls up closer, and I was like, oh, like that.
Rajeev not impressed. You can do better, Caitlin Deaver. Why are you doing this?
Brad Pitt of our generation. And I was like, oh, okay.
Now, all the money went to Clooney and Roberts. There was no money left for a hot local guy.
Like, random somebody. And I was just like, you're giving up a lifetime of like being able to do whatever you want for this.
Going back to the condoms, at the beginning, I thought she and Ren were like a couple, like a lesbian couple. And I was like, why do you need... And listen, I'm not a lesbian, so I don't know the machinations of how it works. But it felt like you wouldn't need... Condoms wouldn't be an important part of the equation if you're in a committed lesbian relationship. I went into the movie without seeing the trailer. I try to avoid the trailer whenever possible. I ended up seeing the trailer afterwards when I was looking at research material. And thank God I didn't see the trailer, because it legitimately gives the entire movie away.
Entire movie.
It's such a terrible trailer. It's crazy.
Isn't 90% of trailers nowadays, if you think about it?
I really do avoid a lot. I saw the trailer for The Invitation quite a bit. I still had no idea what was going on in that movie. 50 minutes into the movie. And all of a sudden I'm like, vampires? How did this happen? So George Clooney, Julia Roberts, you're a fan of their chemistry, or you think their chemistry hurts this divorce dynamic thing?
I think for me, the only other than Rent, I think the only reason I watched it is because of the two of them. And I think I'm very much a nostalgia, like the reason I'm here in the US, having studied film and blah, blah. It's like it's Hollywood. These are the two of the faces that really shaped my like film watching audience member Hollywood loving journey. It hurt in the sense of like if I was looking at it objectively as like a producer, I'd be like, okay, yeah, there's an audience, but like, and we're sticking it up. Sticking, yeah. Mm-hmm. But like that would be the only reason I would make the decision. Is like, okay, let them do it, is because it's supposed to be like slapsticky and like it's George Clooney and Julia Roberts. People enjoyed it. They were laughing and hooting and doing all the fun stuff during the movie. So I guess the formula worked.
I want to talk more about that in just a moment, but we're going to take a pause here to do a segment we do whenever Joe's not here called a Joe-ment.
It's a Joe-ment, yeah, Joe power. Pew, pew, pew.
And so, in the Joe-ments, we get Joe's takes that he would normally be here to give live, but he sent them to me via the text machine. And so we'll kind of go through them and discuss. He actually loved the George-Julia bickering. He thinks they have chemistry and that it holds the movie together. There could be an element there, but I think you also bring something up where I think their chemistry, and because they're friends in real life, sometimes make it be like, okay, movie, I see what you're trying to do here. Mm-hmm. Part of it could be the romantic comedy formula, but part of it is, I think, maybe people go in there wanting all that to happen, right? They want them to
definitely
get together, they at the end, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. The movie was sort of a little delightfully ambiguous on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. The daughter, Joe goes on. The daughter, Caitlin Deaver, who's a good actress in other films, feels like she's in a completely separate movie from the parents. Also, and he spells also really weirdly. I won't explain it, but it's very long. The big question is, here we go. Did she graduate college or did she finish law school? Agreed. Agreed, Joe. But then they ADR this line twice at the beginning of the movie, so maybe they were just figuring out in the edit as they went, I guess.
Wait, what lines did they ADR?
So the stuff about her going to school, and by ADR he means like they put it in after the fact we don't see the character in camera saying it, so it's not quite ADR, but I see what he's saying.
I'm pretty good about catching ADR, and I'm pretty proud of myself. It's one of those like weird party tricks. I'm like in the middle of a movie, like that line was added in last.
Yeah, right. And this is common too. This is just like, all right, we've got an exposition narrative problem. How do we fix it? Just throw a line in somewhere. It's fine. Dialogue will save the film. And Joe finishes with, also, she fucking met the guy and is like, I just met you and this is crazy, but please have my baby.
I love that. Good reference. Literally all the problems we just talked about.
And I think, and this might be me being cynically practical, but your parents got married too early and it's ruined your life, basically. 20 years you've had them bickering about you back and forth. And two, because your parents are divorced and apparently have not been able to have a steady relationship since, you're way more likely to get divorced than the national average. You should just be like, well, this is doomed to fail. That's the wrong thought, probably, but that's what I believe.
Julia Roberts did manage to have
a that's right.
stable relationship.
Boring-ass plain guy.
He's there for just to get bitten by a snake and have her go off. I was like, why is he here? What is his purpose? Like, think about it. What if for someone to ask her to marry them and she says no because she chose George?
Yeah, I think the movie was trying to be balanced, quote unquote, where they're like, okay, not every relationship, I don't know, is meant to work. Or maybe it's an obstacle between her and George. I don't quite know. I guess she's supposed to have like an arc, but I don't see what we gained from it or anything.
I guess Caitlin getting annoyed with her in the hospital was something, but they kind of have that moment with the rings in the woods or the jungle.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just felt like I was trying very hard to understand. I mean, Lucas Bravo, so I don't know but he's kind of like big star moment into the Western audience was Emily in Paris. It's a show on Netflix. I don't know if you've heard of it. But he plays like the stud. I think he's like a chef, like very quiet, kind of brooding and moody, but then like very like French and hot. And then you see him in this like fumbling idiot, closer to Caitlin's age, I would imagine. And I thought he and Ren would get together in the end. But then like he comes with this like no purpose.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay.
I'm glad he and Ren didn't get together because he must be like 15, 20 years older than her. I didn't need that. I liked Julia Roberts finally dating a younger man. And all 40 plus, I guess it's 50 now. All 50 films I've seen with her, it's like Liam Neeson and Julia Roberts. And you're like, all right, we can stop here. Woody Allen and Julia Roberts. And you're like, no, what are we doing?
God.
Good Lord, Hollywood. Jesus. Lucas Bravo, or that was his name, he looked and sounded like this actor that was in, I don't know, half a season of Cheers, where he tries to steal Woody Harrelson's fiancée. And I go, it can't be the same guy. It's been 40 years. He would look so old. So then I Googled it afterwards. Yeah. All right. I came across this article at the beginning of the week from Variety, a producer's favorite trade. And it says, Ticket to Paradise and Black Adam make strong case for star power at the box office. We've been dancing around this for a bit and stuff. So the article is by Rebecca Rubin. The article goes to say, Black Adam and Ticket to Paradise helped box office deliver its biggest weekend in months. But would the two films have managed to overperform their respective debut without major stars at their marquees? Well, before we go on, I think Black Adam was always going to make money. Doesn't matter if The Rock was in it or not. But we talked about earlier, and you thought this movie would not do as well if you did not have these two big stars. I would have to agree with you. I don't know how you market it without the stars, quite frankly.
It would have to be a really weird concept.
Yeah.
Like, it would have to be a very original, strange.
Yeah.
Like, you have to see this film. Like, and then that's what gets people. Like, the thing that I believe brings people into theaters is word of mouth, hands down. You can spend 50 to 70% of your budget on marketing. If the film is crap, people are going to tell everyone they know and no one's going to watch it. Barbarian, which is like a horror movie, but like how many horror movies have come out in the past? So many, whatever. But I've heard so many pockets of different like demographics of conversation. I've heard Barbarian come up, and it's because it's such a strange, original kind of structured concept. You know what I mean? Like, it's word of mouth.
Barbarian having been in theaters for like 5 weeks now, whereas Smile, which came out a little bit after it, already gone because Smile was stupid. Barbarian, at least, interesting film, a lot of twists and turns. Smile, which I went in with higher expectations. Dumb movie, dumb script, bad director. Incompetent. Yeah. Okay. Yes, word of mouth, I agree. And despite critics saying Black Adam's terrible, all the people who watch it love it, so that's sad for me. Black Adam ranked as number 1 with $67 million in its opening weekend. Still has to clear a $250 million budget. So, Ticket to Paradise, how much do you think that movie cost to make? Or maybe I'll ask you, if you were the producer of it, how much would you be comfortable spending on the movie?
With Clooney and Julia, Caitlin is a relatively bigger name in the current moving circles, especially with Booksmart. She was nominated for a Golden Globe with that. She did TV show, like the law TV show that did really well, blah, blah. And then Bali, I'm assuming tax incentives. I'm assuming. If not, that'd be crazy. I'd pick another country with like better tax incentives that looked like beautiful. Sri Lanka being one of them. I would say between 15 and 20.
That's how much you would spend on the movie?
Yes.
Okay. The movie's budget cost $60 million.
For what?
I imagine Julia and George.
Well, Julia and George would probably come to, what, 5 each?
No, I bet they took $15 million each.
But like they would probably make a deal to like work the back end as well.
I mean, they could.
So, like initially. Also, what have they been in recently in the past couple of years that have... I mean, yeah, sure that Julia and George, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like they would have also still have to have done something in the last couple of years to warrant more than 5.
Yeah, I'm not sure what George has done recently. Julia was in like 2 Showtime one was for Amazon, mini-series the last 2 years. I don't know how they track how well those are doing, though. So it took second place last weekend with 16 million. Second place was 16 million.
Oh, geez Louise.
And yet, that beat the early projections. The article goes to say word of mouth, like you talked about, proved strong enough to beat early projection. How much did you expect Black Adam to make opening weekend? My goodness. 67 beats it? Jeez. Yet neither film enjoyed particularly dazzling reviews. Black Adam has 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. Ticket to Paradise has 55%, so I'm glad at least it's better. Box office analysts believe that those films lack in critical praise, but they make up for it in unadulterated charm of their leading men and women. These two movies boast the three biggest and truest movie stars in the world. Do you think that's still true?
Wait. We're just talking about Ticket or Black Adam?
Yeah, Black Adam's involved in here, but we obviously know The Rock, big worldwide star. Are George and Julia still big stars, do you think?
I think so. Again, it's with that millennial plus audience. And I think that's, again, what Universal and the producers and everyone was banking on is getting these, like, big-time, old, nostalgic stars to kind of play. Nostalgia is making a big comeback. You're going to see a lot of movies with a lot of, like, all the way up to the end, Lansbury, Anthony Hopkins is in an Armageddon Time film now, the one kind of like classic actor, if you would say. And I think they're going to sprinkle all of these like my dad grew up watching them, actors and actresses in films in the, you know what I mean, in like the coming whatever to carry those.
Ticket to Paradise actually premiered outside of America first. Our friend Lawrence, former guest of the cast, got to see it like 2 weeks before I did. Despite 16 million opening in America, the movie's already, as of last weekend, made $96 million around the world.
I'm not surprised.
And so the crux of the article really is just like, it's kind of crazy that Ticket to Paradise could do this well, comparatively, considering it's not it's an old-fashioned Hollywood blockbuster that's just tailored on movie stars and high-concept plots, versus all the other successful films the last, 5-10 years that have been franchise-based or based on some IP. So you're a producer. When you're looking for projects, I imagine any IP is worth more to you as a safer bet?
That's a good way of putting it. IP is definitely safer. It doesn't always guarantee quality, though.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you see. It's like my one, like, this is why I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
Is we were talking about Top Gun.
Yes.
And it had been made, 2018? It was set to come out, I think, 2019. And then thanks to our beautiful friend who kept us indoors, it got pushed by eventually ended up being 3 years or 2 years. And everyone were all like, no one's going to care about this film. We're going to do really bad. Theaters are dead. No one's going back. Blah, blah. And I was just like, are y'all kidding me? Have y'all stepped outside the US? Like, this is an event for the rest of the world. It's like, A, Top Gun's back, Tom Cruise, and B, like, theaters, like, it baffles me how expensive it is here. It's so cheap to go to a theater back home. And I think obviously they subsidize it and do all the fun stuff for it.
Yeah.
But like going to the theater is a huge deal. Like it's a huge deal in the sense like it's a fun, like you plan for it and you go, you know what I mean? So I was just like, Top Gun's gonna be fine, and then the rest is history for that film. So I think the same with like being from the outside and being obviously like having gone through the producing aspect of like learning how it works. Ticket to Paradise, I think their bigger audience is also international as opposed to the US. It's not, how do I say this without sounding politician? It's not an American film.
Because of the locale?
Well, locale for sure, but also in terms of subject matter, there's never a line of politics in there.
I see.
And the moment US politics, societal situations, which is like very warranted, and like obviously people are going through it, it isolates the film as an American film.
I see.
So like I remember watching some movies now, and I'm just like, oh, they're talking about racial issues, and which is like obviously stuff that's going on in the real world, but like to the rest of the world, they have their own problems that they're going through, and they go to the movies to escape all of them.
Yeah.
And so the moment you have this like silly but goofy but quirky but charming rom-com with stars we've grown up watching, we're going to go watch the movie and we're going to escape our problems, which is another big thing that the film was banking on. And clearly with the 90 million plus the amount that you just said, like that is not surprising to me at all.
Yeah, good for them. Joe and I have talked about kind of the star system here and all the problems it causes. He often is like, this person has the it factor. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But there is an effortlessness to George and Julia, pretty much in any role they take, compared to the stars that Hollywood tries to push on me now, where they're like, look at Chris Pratt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in this movie, you could be like, well, George and Julia, that their roles aren't particularly difficult. And I would say, neither are Chris Pratt's roles. He's not there doing, like, My Left Foot. He's looking at a green screen and making a face. And I go, I won't get into that. But the movie theater thing you talk about is interesting. 10 years ago or something, I remember Spielberg coming out and be like, movie theaters are going to turn into, like, big opera events. Like, you're going to get dressed up, your tickets are going to cost like $60, but it's going to be like a night on the town. It won't be this kind of casual throwaway thing. And that hasn't really happened, but in his world, like, movie theaters need to get bigger to survive. And my thought is right now, maybe they're too big. All this, fancy chairs they got to put in and the sound thing and these IMAX screens and all this stuff. Maybe that's putting too much strain on a movie to do well, any movie to do well. Maybe that's part of the problem, is when your movie theater has like 30 screens, it needs movies to do very well to sustain itself, or it needs to put...
And more movies.
Yeah, this stupid Flash movie on like 5 of the screens 6 times a day. And I think so maybe if movie theaters went smaller and they had like 4 screens or something, especially since a lot of movies are either just going to streaming anyway or are day and day, in which case maybe just do the streaming thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
There might be less traffic in those places anyway. I don't know. I just wish we made smaller movies. Like, even this movie, I think you could do for 40 million, 35 million.
Or less.
Yeah, I know you said less, but I'm trying to be... I don't think they would work cheaply, even though they get to be friends and go on a Sandler-like vacation movie thing. 40 million feel like movies they don't really make anymore anyway. I'm surprised this movie even got made with the big stars that it had.
I don't know what exactly they are, but I've seen trailers. One of them had like Ryan Phillippe. Like, he was people knew him being that like part of that like teen horror with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, he had a good 5-year run there for a bit.
So like his name is recognizable. It's not like that he's not a George Clooney or Julia, but like, you know what I mean? People recognize him. But like, that film got no marketing. The only reason I saw it was because it was like some weird obscure ad that now they're making us watch on streaming services. But again, it just goes to show that it doesn't, like, yeah, sure, star power does help. But if you throw in that and you don't have, because there's an oversaturation of content now, which is what the point you were trying to make with like so many screens. Yeah. I mean, having to fill that with content, which means so many more movies, which means it's so many more stars. I think it's a calculation. Talking about Ticket to Paradise, which is what we're here to talk about. We haven't seen these two together in a while. We've had some successful films, rom-coms with them. And the second thing is we haven't seen them on our screens in a while as well. I would say like in a movie theater capacity. So I think all of these things unfortunately have to be so calculated now as opposed to like, oh, this is a cute movie that we think will do well because it's just a good movie to sit back and forget that you had a 12-hour day at work and laugh about. Who can we put in? Like, oh, these two would be, you know what I mean? Like, now you have to think about the money and about the time and about the who and about the post calculation and the prediction, who your competition. It's just like, like Hollywood has turned the glitz and glamour and the fun and the magic to like the calculation. And
I rage about that a lot on the show, the sabermetrics of Hollywood.
More producers and more directors and more anybody who's in this machine now. I would say it's kind of a bubble. Having been here for a year, I kind of see that too, like even in work. Like if you step outside for a couple of weeks to like several different countries in different continents and you go to a movie theater and you watch a movie, you'll see a completely different reaction, a different audience, and a different kind of like acceptance of these films because they're just going for a good time and a good movie. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like it's like you don't have to think that much. Which I think this film
does not ask too much of the audience.
I mean, clearly they didn't think about the law part of this.
Oh, yeah, no, they're just like, well, they're not going to think anyway. I think we get away with it here.
It's already made $90 million in its opening because they just calculated George Clooney and Julia. Yeah. People love them. It's a quirky rom-com. We haven't seen one of those in a while, bros. In my personal opinion, doesn't really count as a global rom-com. The rest is up to the audience.
All right, do you have any other things you want to get out before we go into our last looks?
Would I watch this movie again? Maybe in like 5 to 10 years when I'm sitting with my family at home and it's on DVD. It's like a weird, dumb, good laugh. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not the original, which I probably should, but I watched like the Steve Martin Pink Panthers. Because I think it's just a good, you know what I mean? It's a dumb movie, but like it knows exactly what it is. That's the point. I think the beautiful thing about this film, and I think the same with Bullet Train, and I bet you if you looked up the box office for Bullet Train, it did really well internationally.
Yeah.
The film knows exactly what it is. And I love movies like that. I think movies try way too hard nowadays to be something beyond themselves. Like, we have to be political, or we have to be fit with the zeitgeist. We have to say something. We have to, like, no, the movies that do well are sure they say something because they're embedded in the script.
Yeah.
But like, you don't have to be making a soapbox moment every time you make a film. The movies that know exactly what they are, they're just a fun watch, or they're crazy, or they're ridiculous. Like, those are what's going to do well, because that's why people watch movies.
From my angle as the indie director, I've had to do some, not had to, but I've gotten the opportunity to do quite a lot of pitching recently, the last couple weeks. And a question that always gets thrown at me is, why does this story need to be told? Why are you the one to tell it? Blah, blah, blah. So that sort of forces you to come at it from a political angle or a very personal angle. They're like, why would you want to make Ticket to Paradise? I go, to make money, make a lot of money. But I wonder if it's just like, this is a movie that's more factory made. It's not like a bunch of execs are like, okay, let's put this guy with this girl, and we'll get this director here and this young person to star as the dog. And so, like, by committee, this thing gets made, and they're all, like, winking at each other like, yeah, we're in this for the money, right? Yeah, the money? Okay, the money.
Right, exactly.
So maybe that's the difference in there, where the smaller films kind of have to...
I mean, I bet you in the pitch there was an aspect of, like, oh, this young feminist girl is choosing her life.
She's choosing a man.
She's choosing a man. She's doing what she's giving up law, which is, like, you're going to make so much money, and capitalism, and all of that stuff that there's, I bet you that's the pitch. Second one is it's an interracial couple, and that's like on both ends. Julia's relationship is interracial, or not racial, well, like
intercontinental,
and then Caitlin's is clearly, and then like customs and like
this merging of cultures,
tourism, and like I'm sure Bali would get on board with like us filming there because it's like tourism and promotion for them. Like, there's so many aspects and things you can take from this film, but I bet you like it's literally like, oh, it's fun and we'll make money. Literally what you said.
Bringing up the feminist thing, that's interesting, because we do this, especially for the Julia movies, but we've done this a lot more in general since we started the Julia season. The movie, I do not believe, passes the Bechdel test. So it's tough, because there are moments when Caitlin Deaver and Ren are talking about her parents as a unit, and so I don't know if that counts as them discussing a male, so maybe. Whereas every other conversation is like between her and Julia Roberts, and they're discussing the dad, or they're discussing the boyfriend, fiance. But that parent thing, I don't know if that counts. If you have any thoughts there at home, listeners, you can email us at whathappenedtothem@gmail.com. Yeah, all right. So what are your last looks on this? Why do you think Julia Roberts does a movie like this?
I think again, it's fun. It's maybe she got to go to Bali for a couple of months and just do whatever. I think she's at a point in her life where she doesn't need to establish who she is. I think the moment you see Julia Roberts, she's done well in her career, in my personal opinion. I'm not saying she hasn't done a bad movie, but I'm saying she's been in very like pivotal films. Anyone can talk about it at a party, at any gathering. Oh, Pretty Woman. Oh, Notting Hill. Oh, My Best Friend's Wedding. These are films that are like off the tip of your tongue. Everyone kind of know, like internationally, people know about it. And I think she's very much established herself as somebody who, it's Julia Roberts. I mean, the thing I love about the end, and I think it was both really nice because I love seeing these in rom-coms, but I also think it's the movie's way of justifying the star power that they use in the film is the blooper reel that they show in the credits.
Yes.
And like, I personally love it. I'm a sucker for it. But it shows who these people are. Like the last thing they said, the last shot is George Clooney in the plane scene, which I loved, and I think that lady was that old woman was so brilliant. One of the other actors makes a mistake, and he says something along the lines of like, "Oh my gosh, Julia Roberts." And then she makes a comment back about George Clooney, and he goes, "Yeah, 1-800 Brad Pitt." Yeah, and I thought that was really cute. I would watch whatever she does. Anything she does, I'm on board because it's Julia Roberts. I think the decision she's made in her life in terms of film is smart. I think this is kind of one of them. I can see my mom and her sister and her friends watching this movie like over and over, like, oh my gosh, we winded to that funny part. Like that's, you know what I mean? And she's smart. She's very smart. She's very talented.
Yeah. Why do I think Julia Roberts does this movie? Well, you kind of brought it up a little bit. She gets to go on vacation in Bali for a long time. Probably brings her family along too. They hang out, relax. She's hanging out with her buddy George Clooney. Based on the budget, it seems she got paid handsomely for it. She's been a lot more choosier, I'll say. I think part of it, she's more choosy. I think part of it is she has a harder time getting roles for her age, which sucks, but seems to be the case.
Do you think that's changing now?
I don't know. Am I seeing more of them on streaming and TV and stuff? Yes. It's tough to say. I'm like, oh, you got that the Lily Tomlin show and Jane Fonda show on Netflix. But then I'm like, okay, but for every one of those, there's like 50 shows I've never heard of. Right. Or there's 8 Kissing Booth movies somehow now. I don't even know how that happened. It's like every 6 months they're putting out one of those. Maybe they're standing out more to me because I'm looking for them. I think it's trending. What do they say? The arc of justice is long, but it bends towards the good people. I think we're moving more in the direction of being okay for old people, but I don't know, man. They are the ones with disposable income, and all I hear millennials complain about how they never have money, so why do we keep advertising to them? They don't have the money you want. Jesus. Anyway, that's good. I'm done with that rant. Here's the deal, right? I saw, when we were doing Gaslit, which was this Julia Roberts miniseries about Watergate. This was the last thing she did before this movie. I think it came out over the summer. There are so many like old, fat, bald actors that have no problem getting work. Julia Roberts still looks like a movie. There's no old, fat ladies getting roles. And when they put Julia Roberts, they had to like add some weight to her to like make her look more like the character. I don't know. Joe and I have complained about that enough. So why did she do this movie? Because there's really no good reason not to. Like maybe if it weren't in Bali, or maybe if it weren't with her best friend George, she'd be like, meh. Because she'd been doing some more interesting roles the last couple of movies, and so I got a little excited. I'm like, this could be fun. Maybe this is like my best friend's wedding romantic comedy. This would be great.
Right.
And Black Adam was so terrible. I'm just like, I need a good palate cleanser. Like I got on the Notting Hill end of the spectrum versus my best friend's wedding. It does its job well. You're right. The movie does know what it wants to do. It does that very well. I just wanted a little something more fun. For me,
I agree.
But I got no beef with the movie. It's not a bad movie. I like it more than Black Adam. For a little more, but she does it because, I don't know, I don't fault her for doing it at all. It makes total sense. She gets to rest on her laurels at this point. She's done it. She's won an Academy Award. She's done a lot of really great movies. She gets to take interesting roles amidst movies like this, so fine. Do whatever you need to do, Julia. Doesn't bother me. All right, well, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Tiki Leaks. Try to go there now before some entity takes it down off the dark web. I'd like to thank Lev Van Rensselaer for helping us out. We had a couple of audio issues here, but I think it's going to sound pretty okay at the end of it. And of course, I'd like to thank Rajeev Colton for coming by with his producerial expertise.
Ooh, thank you for having me again. Always a fun time talking movies with you. I love it. I feel like you are more on the international side than the other side.
Yeah, sometimes to my discredit over here, trying to get movies made. And Joe, we hope that your family gets well soon. And I am your host, Patrick Scale. You may find my features, documentaries, short films, video essays, animations, behind-the-scenes footage, and so much more at quixoticunited.com and social media, presumably, with a similar-sounding name. Thank you all for listening. Rajeev, say goodnight.
Good night.
2 tickets to paradise. Won't you pack your bags? We'll leave tonight. I've got 2 tickets to paradise. I've got 2 tickets to paradise.
Never learned the home row thing they desperately tried to teach me in 2nd grade. Mario tried his best to teach me typing. It just didn't happen. So when did you get to see the... We haven't started yet, but I'm getting some things set up. When did you see this movie? Wednesday? Thursday?
Wednesday.
What was the theater experience like for you?
The demographic was very much, in terms of age, was the same. So it was very much a 30 and older crowd.
Yeah.
And they were laughing. They were like slapping their knee laughing, which I really enjoyed because it was like 90s, early 2000s, it's ridiculous rom-com, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I think it was received well by an audience who probably grew up watching Julia Roberts and Clooney. There were some younger people, and I think they were laughing at us laughing, which is fine.
I like that you guys count as the older people.
Just have to embrace it at this point.
I went last week. I did the double feature. I did Black Adam, and then immediately went into this film. And
Oh, shoot.
what different? I mean, both theaters had like 6 people in them because I went on like a Thursday afternoon. Because when the trailers come out, they're like this Friday, but here I am on the Thursday beforehand, cheating.
Right.
I guess I don't know. So yeah, Black Adam, bunch of 20-somethings. Then Ticket to Paradise, people in their 50s.
And you were saying, was it your theater, or somebody else had a really rowdy crowd?
Oh yeah, Joe's theater had these old ladies, and they were hooting and hollering, and they were having a good time.
I had a couple of those in mine as well, especially when Clooney was shirtless.
Yeah, these old ladies, they're quite the horn dogs. Don't let them fool you.
Oh, yep.
All right, so we'll stop here. I'll just kind of go into the introduction. I will then introduce you and our producer, but we'll quiet down. We'll get into it.